everybody, it's Paula U from the Watershed Project. I sincerely hope you're well and that you're doing your best to shelter in place and keep everyone safe. We all have to do our part to combat COVID-19, and staying at home as much as possible is the best thing that we can do for ourselves, for our families, and for our community. I'd also like to take some time to thank our essential workers who are out there keeping things together for us. We'd be in a lot of trouble without you, and we sincerely appreciate you keeping us supplied, fed, and cared for during this time of crisis. Well, we're approaching our third week of shelter in place, and by now you guys are probably starting to go a little stir crazy, so why not plant a vegetable garden? It's really hard to predict how long we're going to be sheltering in place, and we can limit our visits to the grocery store if we grow our own fresh produce. Not to mention, it's spring, so it's gorgeous outside. It's a great time to be outside. And if you've got restless kids at home, planting a vegetable garden is a really great thing to get them involved in. Right now, everyone wants to plant a vegetable garden, and so it's gotten kind of difficult to get your hands on seeds or plant starts. But that's okay. You can put in an order for seeds or starts, and while you're waiting for them to arrive, you can do some garden prep tasks to get the area ready for your garden. You could do things like source the soil or the compost you're going to need. You could build a raised bed, or if you already have a raised bed, you can prep that bed by weeding it and refreshing the soil. You can prep containers for gardening. Those are a great option if you live in an apartment or a condo. If you're really ambitious, you could set up an irrigation system for your garden beds, or if you're really ambitious, you could set up a rainwater catchment system. We'll show you how to do that in an upcoming video. The next question after that is whether to go with seeds or with starts. They both have their pros and cons. Seeds are very cost effective. This packet costs $1.29, and there are probably about 100 seeds or so in this packet, so you can have many plants. But the downside is it takes time for the seeds to germinate and become productive. With a plant start, you're getting a young plant that's already well on its way to becoming productive. The downside is these are a little more pricey. You can pay anywhere from $3 to maybe up to $7 or $8 per plant, so depending on how big of a garden you want, it could add up. Personally, I like to do a combination of both. It makes sense to do seeds for things like carrots or beets or lettuce, where you're gonna harvest the entire plant. Tomatoes and peppers, they make sense as starts because you're gonna have a lot of fruit coming off of a single plant. Some seeds can be sown directly into your planting beds, like lettuce or carrots or beets. Others make more sense to start in small pots, like tomatoes or peppers. I've prepared this area here for some carrots. I have really dense clay soil in my yard, which isn't great for air circulation or drainage, so in order to sow the seed directly into the ground, I'm going to need to amend the soil a little bit. I'm going to be using a product called Clod Breaker from American Soil and Stone. You don't want to disturb the integrity of your soil too much because there's an entire beneficial ecosystem in there. So I've broken up only the first few inches, and I'm going to rake in some of this soil amendment to break up the clay. Next, I'm going to dig a shallow furrow in the ground, no more than an inch or two, sow the seeds and then gently water them in. we get some good germination out of those carrot seeds. Over time, I might need to thin out the seedlings a little bit. Next, we'll talk about planting seeds in pots. Some seeds benefit from getting started in small containers rather than getting sown directly into the ground. Things like tomatoes or peppers, things like cucumber or squash or beans or peas. These are warm weather crops, and right now the ground is still a little bit too cold to grow them. So we start them in small containers, and if you're an avid gardener like me, you probably have a lot of these cell packs around. These are ideal for starting seedlings in. If you do reuse these, make sure you wash them out though, because whatever was in there previously may have had some sort of a disease, and you want to make sure that your seedlings are successful. If you don't have any of these cell packs around, that's fine. Anything can function as a container. Here's a mushroom container that I punched some drainage holes in. This is a container that some cheese came in, and it has a nice lid so I can have a nice little greenhouse effect going on to germinate my seeds. A lot of people like to use cardboard egg containers, which are a lot of fun because then you can just tear away each cell and plant it directly into the ground. Paper cups work well too. But whatever you decide to use, it's really critical that you punch drainage holes in the bottom. I used a drill to punch drainage holes in this container, but you can use anything like a hammer and a nail or a screwdriver. Whatever you decide to do, make sure you do it safely. Okay, I'm gonna plant some cucumber seeds in one of these repurposed mushroom containers. I filled it about 2/3 of the way with soil, and I'm going to take the cucumber seeds and I'm going to firm down the soil a little bit. We want the seeds to have a nice firm substrate for rooting. I'm going to sprinkle the seeds in little clusters, 2 or 3 at a time. As these seedlings develop, I can select for the stronger ones by thinning out the weak ones. Okay, that looks like a nice seeding density there. I'm going to top off the seeds with a little bit of soil. Again, I'm going to firm it down, not squish it down too hard, just firm it down a little bit. And then I'm going to water this in gently. Alternatively, you could set your seed flats into a shallow dish of water and just let the water absorb through the bottom. You'll know you've watered when you see that the surface of the soil is moist. Well, I hope you're feeling inspired to try growing your own produce this season. It's easy and it's really rewarding. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach us at info@thewatershedproject, all lowercase, no spaces, .org. That's info@thewatershedproject.org. Happy growing. Hasta luego.